So me and this book are about to be besties.
High five.
Society has convinced us that creativity is impractical, selfish, and only for those who are naturally gifted. But I think that is one of the most damaging lies that we've been told. For so much of my life, I was focused on productivity and perfection. Anything else that didn't meet that criteria was not important to me. I was so scared to fail or to be bad at something that I would really never go outside my comfort zone and only do what I thought was the next logical thing, leaving me to pursue a career in tech and to check off all the boxes that looked great on paper, but left me feeling unfulfilled and burnt out. I've come a long way through a lot of time and therapy. I have made so much progress in making time for play and becoming more gentle and exploratory and creating space for my creativity. About 6 months ago, I decided to make my scariest decision yet, which was leaving my stable, comfortable job in tech to pursue content creation full-time and living a life that really aligned with the things that I cared about. And honestly, it has been going great until the last couple of weeks where I've really felt this resistance towards creativity. Even though I have my dream job, I have felt so resistant to filming. I feel like none of my ideas are good enough. I just feel like there is this cloud over me, this critical voice inside of me, this tension between having ideas and not being able to put them out into the world that really got me into a funk. And that's when I knew something had to change. So we are going on a 12-week journey together. And if you are someone that feels guilty for prioritizing play and creativity, you feel creatively blocked, or you feel like you have this desire to put something out into the world, but it's not practical and that you're not good enough, this video series is for you. So if you've never heard of The Artist Way, it is a 12-week journey by Julia Cameron designed to help you reconnect or maybe even discover for the first time this artist inside of you, this creative part that you have learned to suppress. Like many others, I have started this program before, but I have not finished it. Usually people tend to drop off around week 6 or 7, which is part of why the reason I wanted to create this series, so that if you're doing it, you have someone to keep you accountable, and most of all, so that I can keep myself accountable while I go through this. If you're someone that likes a little bit of structure, it lays out everything that you need to know. There is one chapter each week with a theme that we're going to focus on. In the beginning of the chapter, it starts out with a reading, some insights on that theme, and the first week is all about creating safety for your creativity. Each week is centered around a specific theme, and with that theme comes a little insight reading that you do at the beginning of the week, along with some creative challenges related to that theme, and then 2 basic tools that we'll use throughout the entire program, which are morning pages and artist dates, which I'll get into a little bit later. How I'm approaching this is every weekend I'm going to read the chapter on the week's theme so that I'm prepared, I know what to expect for the week, and then every morning I will do the morning pages right when I wake up and sprinkle the creative challenges and tasks throughout the week, maybe after morning pages, maybe during the day or before bed. And once a week we are going on a solo date to reconnect with our inner child, have time to process and explore new ideas. And I have a ton of ideas for artist dates that I'll give you guys if you want to do it too. Now, if you have this book, I know it can be overwhelming at first, and it's really easy to be like, I don't have time for all of that. I need to focus on other more important things. And I've learned that that is really just fear in your body system that is trying so hard to keep you in the same cycles and the same routines. And I feel you, I have a lot going on, but I just really feel called to prioritize this over the next 12 weeks. So me and this book are about to be besties, and it's gonna come with me everywhere I go this summer. So week 1 is all about recovering a sense of safety with your inner artist. Julia Cameron talks a lot about this concept called the shadow artist, which are people who orbit creativity, people like editors instead of authors, or people like social media managers instead of creators, because they're scared to actually create themselves. Now, we don't come out of the womb as a shadow artist. This happens over time as we become conditioned on how it's safe for us to show up in the world. From a young age, we pretty quickly learn what qualities get us love and attention and respect from others, and what qualities we need to hide from others in order to feel this sense of acceptance. There's so much conditioning around what we can and can't do. I feel like when we're younger and we have these big dreams of what we want to do in the world, it's often met with other people telling us that we need to be more practical and that being creative is only for the top talented artists, pretty much that it's just for other people and it's not for us. So then we end up turning into these shadow artists, people that feel the desire, the pull towards creativity, but we don't take ourselves in that desire seriously. I remember being in art class when I was younger and not being good at the typical typical art mediums like drawing or painting, and from then being deemed as not creative, which was a belief that I carried with me for so many years after that. Instead, I was the logical one, the practical one, the one who had all my shit together, and along the way I came to believe that my value to the world was that I had it all together and that I was this perfect person who on paper would never mess up and would always do the right thing. And I became so scared to do anything that was outside of my comfort zone, anything that I could fail at. So I studied more, I worked harder, I pushed myself past my limits and put aside anything that was not productive for a really long time. And it got me very far. I got a great job, a great apartment, I got to move to a city that I love. I just developed this all or nothing mindset where I felt completely disconnected from my intuition, my creativity, and this childlike curiosity and joy that I had when I was younger. I remember judging people who would take breaks or that were living a slower lifestyle, but deep down I was jealous. Once I quit my job in tech, I slowly started to unlearn the do or die mentality and conditioning that had been placed upon me, that this belief that I just always had to be doing more or else I would fall behind. I started remembering things that I liked as a child and reconnecting back to my hobbies and making time for play without purpose. Honestly, I was starting to feel the magic of this whole creativity thing, and it was going really well, but slowly I started to feel this nagging voice in the back of my head that I was doing something wrong, that I needed to work harder and I needed to put out more content and I needed to have better ideas, and that the content that I was working so hard to create was not good enough. I became obsessed with metrics and just was comparing myself to other content creators, and there was just this voice in my head that was telling me that the initial success that I had was luck and that I would just be a complete failure. One line that I loved from this first chapter was Julia Cameron saying, "Creativity is play, but for shadow artists, learning to allow themselves to play is hard work." When something has been programmed in you for so long, it's not just going to change overnight. And she talks about how your inner artist is like a child. Learning to create is like learning to walk. You start by crawling and taking baby steps, but so many of us judge our early artistic efforts so harshly that we never even get past the crawling stage. But if you let being perfect paralyze you from ever getting started, you will stay stuck forever. But if you're like me, I know that you're not gonna stay stuck. And how we're gonna get unstuck is we're gonna do the artist way. So this week introduces the two basic tools that we are going to be using throughout the entire program, which I mentioned earlier are morning pages and artist dates. Morning pages are 3 pages every single morning of stream of consciousness journaling. It's basically like a brain dump. You just journal anything that comes to mind, things that you're worrying about, your to-do list, a weird dream that you had. It can be anything. And the science behind this is so interesting. When you write by hand, first thing in the morning, you're accessing your subconscious before your ego and your critical voice starts to come online. It's basically like a shower for your brain that clears the top layer so that you can get to the underneath and start to see the patterns that are emerging from your subconscious. And the next tool is artist dates, which I am so excited about. And it's basically just prioritizing one time per week where you can be fully by yourself and do something that reconnects you with that sense of curiosity, joy, wonder, time that you set aside for pure play and exploration. Julia Cameron talks about creativity like a well, and when we're only pouring out of our well and not adding anything back in, we end up feeling dried up, which is honestly how I've been feeling over the past couple of weeks. So I'm really excited for this time that will just be truly replenishing and give me new inspiration for ideas to come. When we're constantly in this productivity go output mode, we turn off the parts of our brain that are really essential for us to have creative thinking. There are a ton of other creative tasks and challenges and things that we're going to do together along the week. So let's see what this week actually looks like in practice. I'm going to take you guys with me.
We are waiting. We are on our way.
You're becoming artists.
High five.
A little bit later, I'm going to go on my artist date of the week, which I think I mentioned earlier in this video. I'm going to do some Pinterest collaging, and I use this app called Shuffles to make it look like a little scrapbook on your phone. I absolutely love doing this, and I haven't done it in a long time. It always makes me feel so inspired and so happy. So I'm going to do that today. I just finished collecting all of my images that I'm going to be using to make my collage. I get lost doing this for so long. It probably took me an hour to curate all the images that I wanted, and sometimes it turns into more of like a vision board, and sometimes it's more of just an artistic collage with a lot of cute words and cute cartoons and colors that I like. So I feel like this one is definitely more the latter, where I just saved photos where I liked the textures, the colors, the images. I saved a lot of outdoorsy, fairy, whimsical, sun type images that I'll show you. I'm gonna go home now and then film a little time lapse of me making the collage so that you can see it. Okay, I just finished my collage. I've been doing it for about 30 minutes and I just got an absolute flow state. It's so interesting to see when I'm collecting the photos. I don't realize that they have such a theme to them, but there's so much of an inner child, star, orange, butterfly, galaxy, cartoony type feel to it. I also put a cutie little picture of me when I was a baby. And yeah, it's just so uplifting and really good reminders. When I notice those limiting beliefs start to come in, I feel like this will just be such a good thing to have as my computer background or my lock screen. And as you can see when I was doing it, I just moved stuff around, I changed stuff, I deleted stuff, I edited the background. So you can really just make this your own. And I have so much fun doing it. So this was such a fun artist day for the week. It cost $0. I did everything right from my iPad. It was free, no supplies. So hopefully that inspires you to do your artist date as well. Okay, it is day 2 of the first week and my partner Ben and I are actually doing it together, so it's nice to have a little bit more accountability, but we've been loving doing the morning pages in the morning. It's really a nice ritual and feels like it starts out my day on such a good foot. Even if I wake up in a bad mood or I wake up anxious, by the time I'm done with morning pages, I feel like I have a little bit more clarity. And like I said, there are just 3 pages of stream of consciousness, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, and then you just see where it takes you. So that has been interesting and has brought up some interesting conversations for us after. And then today I started to do the challenges for the week. So there are 10 challenges or tasks for this week, and all of them are designed to help you work through this week's topic of recovering a sense of safety. So the first one that I did was list 3 old enemies of your creative self-worth, being as specific as possible. Your historic monsters are the building blocks of your core negative beliefs. So when I was doing this, nothing came to mind right away. And then as I was starting to do it, more memories came up. So if that's happening to you too, that is totally fine. I said that the first one was art class because when I was younger, I did not feel like I was good at the typical mediums of painting and drawing. And I remember that I used to get bad grades in art and I was obsessed with being a psychotic straight A student. So that really made me upset when I had all straight A's on my report card and art was like the one thing that I got a B in. So I feel that was one of the first things that really messed with my sense of self-worth, because I don't think that art should be something that you get graded on, and especially when you're so impressionable at a young age. In contrast to that, the next part was listing 3 champions of your creativity. And I wrote some of my best friends. I wrote my friend Megan, who does amazing classes. She has a business called Art Girl. If you're in New York City, you have to check it out. She really designs them around low stakes art with the notion that everyone can be creative, aligning exactly what Julia Cameron is saying here. I also was just reflecting that you guys are such champions of my creativity, and all of your sweet messages of encouragement, of impact have really just built my confidence so much and have helped me to know that what I share matters. So you guys are the best and I love you so much. I'm thinking of actually creating a background for my phone or computer that compiles all of your comments together into a little collage, because I am so sentimental and I screenshot every single one of your sweet comments. Every time I see one, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. So I think I'm gonna put them all together on a little collage so that I can just feel connected to that throughout the week. The other ones I picked for this week was one about imaginary lives, which was if you had 5 other lives to lead, what would you do in each of them? I've answered this question before, but I'm curious to see if my answer towards it changes. The last one I'm going to do is to take your artist for a walk. I live in New York City, so I go for walks all the time, but usually I'm so distracted by my phone. I have my headphones in, I'm really not paying attention. So I want to challenge myself to go on like a 20-minute walk without using my phone or headphones and just be very present into the world around me and see what comes up. I am doing my last challenge of week 1, which is to go for a 20-minute walk. And you might think that going on a 20-minute walk seems simple. I feel like I'm usually having headphones in, listening to a podcast, listening to music, talking to someone on the phone, busy like editing a video while I'm walking. I really have just gotten into this habit of overstimulating myself when I'm walking and have not been present at all. So that's why I wanted to do this challenge. So for this walk, my intention is to just be fully present, notice what's around me. I feel like this is the longest 20-minute walk I've ever been on. If you're going on one of these walks and you're expecting like this big aha moment, I don't really think it will happen. It was more just about creating the space. My shoulders are really tight. My breath is like stuck in my chest. All of week 1's challenges have officially been completed, at least the ones that I chose to do. I didn't do all of them. And I have some really interesting takeaways from the week, some that I didn't expect, mostly from the morning pages and what comes up when I just created the space to have a lot of free-flowing thought and kind of dig into what was coming up in my thoughts throughout the week. So I'm gonna go finish this talk, but when I get home, I'm gonna debrief the week with you guys. I also finished one of the other creative challenges for the week, which was to do your imaginary lives that you would want to have. This is really just to start to get your brain turning of like, if there was other things that you dream of doing that you have never pursued as your career or a life path, to just start to bring that back to top of mind and see how you could implement some of those things into your life now. My imaginary lives, I did more than 5 because I have a couple, were to be a researcher, a video game designer, a coffee shop bookstore owner, a yoga teacher in Australia, a college professor, a kindergarten teacher, so really both ends of the spectrum there, a YouTuber, which I guess I am a YouTuber now. I just don't officially label myself as it because I create more short form content, but I'm changing that. So I already am doing my imaginary life. And then an author. Fun fact, when I was in 4th grade, I published my own book. Wait, let me actually get for you guys. Ben has this in our bookshelf here because he requested a copy. This is my book that I published when I was in 4th grade. It's called Jaslyn's Big Change, and my parents made me have a pen name Riley Pearson because they thought I was gonna get kidnapped. And it's so cute. I was so shy when I was little, so I never told anyone about this, but yeah, little fun fact for you guys. So far the week is going really well. I've done morning pages every day. I have done some creative challenges, and I feel like some really interesting stuff has come up along the way of just these beliefs that were under the surface, or the pressure that I was putting on myself to be creative and just to be more honest and myself with the art that I'm creating. Just dissect the beliefs that I have and question, where did they come from? Are they true? How can I start to take tiny steps to overcome them? So it's been going so well so far. Really, really fun. I have one more challenge that I picked from this week's tasks that I'm going to do tomorrow, and then we will do a final wrap up of how this week went. It is morning 4 of the Artist's Way, week 1, and every morning Ben and I have been doing our morning pages at our countertop right when we wake up, and it's been so relaxing to do and get all of our thoughts out. I have done morning pages before as part of the Artist's Way, and sometimes just on my own, usually a little bit resistant to them, but yeah, it's fun to do them together, and a lot of times we'll talk about what comes up during it, and it will bring up new conversations that I don't think we would have had otherwise, because sometimes you don't really have the opportunity to say the things that are just randomly floating around in your brain. So I feel like this gives us such a good opportunity to be like, hey, what's randomly floating around in your brain this morning? What I've written about has been quite different each day. The first morning was talking about obviously just my intentions of starting the Artist's Way and how I was feeling about it and how I was feeling creatively blocked and putting a lot of pressure on myself. I got sick this week, and one morning was exploring my health anxiety and like why I feel so stressed and anxious about getting sick. Along the way, as I'm writing, you can kind of see all these other random thoughts that are coming up too. So it's been really nice. I've really loved it as part of our morning routine. Okay, I'm gonna go finish my morning pages and then I'll check in with you guys later. Okay, so we did the artist dates, we did the morning pages, we did the reading, the creative challenges, and we are officially done with week 1. So let's talk about it. One of the most compelling things that I read this week was about morning pages. She says, when people ask, why do we write morning pages? pages, I joke, to get to the other side. They think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Morning pages do get us to the other side of our fear, our negativity, of our moods. Above all, they get us beyond our censor. Beyond the reach of our censor's babble, we find our own quiet center, the place where we hear the still, small voice that is at once our creators and our own. I think that I realized this is something that I'm really struggling with, is this censor voice inside my head that is editing my ideas before I even get the chance to do a first draft or to put it on paper, or right away is telling me that I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be able to execute that, or the project won't come out the way that I want, so I should just not even start. And I think that voice is the most detrimental part of me not being able to express my creativity, because it's this voice that just says no before I even get the chance to try. And she talks a lot about the logic brain and the artist brain. And the logic brain is very neat, linear fashion, and it is our survival brain. And anything unknown to our survival brain is wrong and dangerous. And our artist brain is our creative, holistic brain that brings new connections and evokes your imagination. And she says that the morning pages teach the logic brain to stand aside and then let the artist brain just play. And the censor is just this part of our survival brain that is trying to keep us safe. So I was really noticing that throughout my morning pages this week. I was noticing when I was writing and when I would try to let myself explore an idea, I would, cross out words or feel pressure to get it perfect. And I had this point in my journal where I wrote, if I can't express myself freely in my journal, then where can I express myself freely? Like, why am I putting so much pressure even in my journal that no one reads and no one sees to have it formulated in the perfect way? I gave myself more permission to just start doing it, even if it was going to be bad. Like, I filmed a couple videos this week that I've been thinking about for a long time. I started writing a script for something that I really want to work on. I let myself start this project without needing to have all the answers. And I just think that it's really important to not let yourself be paralyzed by perfection. It's something that I've struggled with for so long, and I am no stranger to, but this perfection idea that we have is an illusion, and our brain makes it up so that we don't ever actually have to face the fear that's underneath it. And so often when you allow yourself to just get started and to try and to make drafts and to edit and to just see where that idea takes you, it ends up not mattering that it's not perfect, because you're able to have that fulfilling feeling of taking an idea that was in your head and putting it out into the world, which is the whole point of creativity. I love this line where she says, we feel we never do enough and what we do isn't right. We are victims of our own internalized perfectionist and nasty internal and eternal critic, the censor who resides in our left brain and keeps us the constant stream of subversive remarks that are often disguised as the truth. Make this a rule. Always remember that your censor's negative opinions are not the truth. This takes practice, which I think will be a practice that I learned throughout the whole 12 weeks of just noticing the censor's voice inside my head, but knowing that it is not the truth, and I can continually work to override it and to create despite that voice inside my head. So I think that was really just eye-opening to view this week. Another part of this chapter this week was about core negative beliefs, and she says most of the time when we're blocked in an area of our life, it's because we feel safer that way. We may not be happy, but at least we know what we are. Unhappy. Much fear of our own creativity is the fear of the unknown. If I'm fully creative, what will it mean? What will happen to me? And she has like some, negative beliefs that she writes of, I will abandon my friends and family. I don't have good enough ideas. I won't be able to make money. I will die. My partner will leave me. I only have one good piece of work in me. It's too late. Things like I can either have a stable job or I can be an artist, but I can't have both. And I think that's something that is really present for me, is this pressure, especially now that I have become a full-time content creator as my job, that it does take a little bit of the joy and purity out of my creativity, because the things that I'm creating are ultimately what I'm making my income off of. So it's not just like this pure thing that I put into the world for no reason. Yeah, I'm learning how to protect some of my own sacredness and creativity and also have it be my full-time job, because it is such a blessing to get to do the things that I love as my full-time job and get paid for it. Like, it's the biggest dream in the whole world, and also it takes some of the joy out of it. So I think that there's a balance that I'm always learning to find of creating things that I don't put online at all, and just having nights where I just get to create for no reason instead of always feeling pressured to share the things that I create. This week just brought up so many interesting conversations between Ben and I after our morning pages, and just thoughts that I was happy to have down on paper because I feel like they were in my head for a while. So overall, I think that this week was just very interesting and laid a good foundation for the rest of the Artist Way to be aware of what is floating around in my brain, maybe without me even knowing that it's there. So if you guys did this week, I want to hear what came up for you. Let me know down below. Next week, we will be doing week 2, which is recovering a sense of identity, and I am excited to see what comes up. If you're doing this along with me, let me know what has been challenging for you, what you've been loving, how it's going. And if you're just watching to see my journey, thank you for being here. I am so grateful that you are along for my Artist Way journey, my creative recovery journey. And with that, week 1 is officially done, and I will see you guys in the next video.